Hello and welcome. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator and this is the Fenix Airbus A320. And I have just installed the latest update, which is absolutely huge. Now, I'm not going to go into every single thing that has been updated. The two things I'm really interested in is the sound and the flight model. Those of you who know my channel know that I fly the Airbus A320 for a living. I have always been very enamored with the Fenix A320. I think it is a fantastic add-on. If you have followed this channel, you know we have poked and prodded this plane in all kinds of manners. We've tried all sorts of things and almost always does the aircraft react exactly like the real thing. So today we're just going to do something nice and easy. We're going to take off, we're going to switch off the autopilot, do some hand flying and then come back for an ILS. And the main focus for me is what the aircraft sounds, what it feels like, and especially the way it lands. The landing has always been one thing that was quite a bit off. It's just the last few seconds really. I mean, I got used to it after a while, and you know, in my head there's a Fenix landing and then there's an A320 landing. So hopefully with the new updates they're gonna be a bit closer to one another. Okay, without further ado, let's have a go. Alright, here we are inside the aircraft. Let's set our altitude. Let's go up to flight level 150. I mean, we're not gonna navigate as such, but still let's do everything properly. First thing I notice, the screen looks different. The way everything is displayed here is slightly different, and I would argue it's closer to the real aircraft. If I move this feels more like the real aircraft, the way the cursor responds. So that's already a good sign. Now I had to recalibrate all my controls in here. This is something they say you got to do. I haven't flown this aircraft yet, so I don't know if the controls have been saved properly, if everything's gonna work. Sometimes I have to say the Fenix plays up a bit with my controls. It tells me that the thrust levers are not in the right position. Maybe that has been fixed, maybe not. I do not know. But visually, I mean, to be honest, the Fenix has always been a very good looking aircraft inside the cockpit. I've always enjoyed it. They seem to have improved on some small details, but yeah, everything still looking good. Alright, let's get into the air. Let's release the parking brake. Everything is set. So let's start the timer. And now let's listen. Apparently the sound has been completely reworked. Let's see what it sounds like. Flex 63 SRS, A320 blue, fast set. (100 knots). (3-1) rotate. Okay, that rotation feels very different, but good. Positive climb, gear up, nav. Very nice, very nice. Before, the side stick used to be yeah, just too sensitive. On the real aircraft you have to give a proper input to make the aircraft rotate. So you may have noticed I didn't really pull back that much because I'm used to the Fenix, you know, just not reacting like the real aircraft. But I have to say this has improved quite a lot. Right, we go to thrust climb, A thrust, alt, and 15,000. Let's get back onto the flight director and flaps 0, speed checked, flap 0. I'm gonna switch on the autopilot for a bit. Let's do all the things we need to do. The sound is markedly better. I'm actually amazed how much better it is. I always felt the sound was already very good, but this is, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Sound is very subjective, but this just feels more raw, if that makes any sense. I don't know if you heard the sound after rotation, this weird like wind rushing, rattling sound that's very prominent on some aircraft. The Neo doesn't have that, by the way, probably because they're better insulated and they're brand new aircraft, but especially on our older A319s, that sound is very prominent. So great to have that in the simulator now. And so we're climbing away and everything looks and feels just right. Okay, here we are. We're at flight level 150. So far everything I've seen and heard sounds really nice. Let's do a bit of testing. So let's switch off the autopilot. Okay, and let's start with a turn. And we let go. Very nice. The aircraft holds the turn, holds the pitch. We now go past 33. We let go. And the aircraft returns to 33 degrees and holds it just there. Perfect. You will have to give a slight back input here when you go into these high bank angles. That's normal even with fly-by-wire. So let's try that again. Let's go a bit steeper and let go of the control. The aircraft returns to 33 and holds it just there. And it does it nice and smooth, nothing erratic. Perfect. Really, really good. So I'm flying around here now. This is something that's a bit hard to convey in a video, but the feel of the aircraft is really nice. It just somehow feels, I don't know, more stable. I mean, it's always been a good aircraft. I've always enjoyed flying it. But the real A320 is literally, you point the nose where you want to go, you let go of the controls, and it's just gonna fly there all day. And you don't have to do anything. I have flown ILS approaches in the real world, especially very early in the morning in still air, where the aircraft was on the ILS. I switched off the autopilot and I literally did not touch anything, and the aircraft would just go down the ILS completely on its own, and I just had my hand on the controls, but there was no need to do anything until the flare. And this is something I've never experienced with the Fenix A320, generally with any aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. They seem quite skittish, almost like they have no weight to them. But this feels better. This, I have to say already, I like this a lot. It's interesting because I never criticized the Fenix A320 for its flight behavior, because I just thought it was okay, that's just the way it is. But now that we have this, the difference is subtle, but it actually makes a big difference, and it reminds me a lot more of the real aircraft. I'm really looking forward to the ILS now. ILS is something it's not that I didn't like it on the Fenix A320, but I found it the part of the flight which was least realistic, and especially the flare and landing. The problem I'm going to have is my muscle memory. Over the years I have learned how to fly the A320 in real life and how to fly the Fenix, because they're two different things. So I think my first landing in the Fenix is not going to be great, because I'm going to have to sort of figure out how to land this aircraft now. But who knows, maybe if I just treat it like the real thing, we're going to get a nice landing. Okay, I'm happy, very happy with what I see. The sound is also really nice, very realistic. So let's get to the real interesting part, at least for me, which is an ILS and landing. We'll let the autopilot establish itself, and then I'll switch off the autopilot. We'll fly it manually and see if we can do a nice smooth landing with this aircraft. The A320 is such a cool aircraft. I really like it. It is such an amazing machine. I know it's not the most, the biggest aircraft, and people probably don't recognize it when they look out of the terminal windows. It's not a 747, it's not a Concorde or anything like that, but it is a perfect workhorse. I really enjoy my time on this aircraft. From a pilot perspective, this is to me the perfect short-haul aircraft. And I can tell you that we have a lot of former 737 pilots that joined us and are now on the A320, and not a single one of them has told me they would ever want to go back to the 73. So I don't know, it's like I said, it's not a special aircraft, it's not outstanding in any shape or form, it's not iconic to the general public. But for me, as someone who's been on this aircraft now for quite some time, I have a few thousand hours on the A320 series, I just still love the aircraft. It is something very special to me, and I'm really happy that Fenix is doing such a great job to bring this aircraft into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, we're on the ILS, we're doing 160 knots, 7 miles out. It's a bit early, but I want to configure this all a bit early on, so gear down. Speed is managed. Make sure everything is set up for the landing. Here we go. Flaps 3, speed checked. Flaps 3, flaps full, speed checked, flaps full. Landing checklist, ECA memo, landing no blue. The cabin is also ready. Perfect, we have the runway ahead of us, we're 5 miles out. The engines are still in idle, but that's okay, they should be coming up shortly. There we are, so we're nice and stable. Okay, I'm gonna try and hand fly this now and see how it compares. Autopilot off. Cat 1. So for the time being, I'm not gonna touch anything. I wanna see what happens. There's no wind, well there's a very slight wind, only 2 knots, so this should not affect us. I'm not touching the controls. We're descending at 700 feet per minute, which is pretty much spot on. Okay, we have to give a slight input, slightly to the right. Yeah, this does feel a lot more stable. So generally we wanna aim for 2.5 degrees pitch. Land. Here comes the visual part.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 5.
Spoilers, reverse green. decel. The rudder is still a bit sensitive, but that's a thing that's just, you know, Microsoft. Manual braking. Let's come to a stop. Okay, so that does feel very different to what we used to have, I have to say. It's more stable. The flare is, I would say it's closer to the real aircraft now. The real aircraft has these two phases of flare, I would argue. First, you need to just give a slight input higher up, and then you just play around with the stick. You just give slight inputs, like not just one large one or one continuous one. You just gently just do this slight back and forth movement, almost to slowly creep towards the runway, if that makes any sense. So this is what I've tried now. It seems to have worked. And let's switch off the reverse sound. That would be a good idea. So yeah, I have to say this is an improvement. Now if you know this channel, you know we're not the ones that do lengthy previews and, you know, look at textures and all that. We are here because we're interested in technical details when it comes to aircraft. So I'm gonna leave it there. The main thing for me really was the sound, which I do think has improved quite a lot, and the flight model, which also I think has improved a lot, and that to me is actually the most important thing. In terms of technicalities, this aircraft has always been pretty good. The GPWS was one thing I wasn't so happy about sometimes. And yeah, the other big thing of course is that they have now added a weather radar. And that's actually quite funny because I have just finished making a video about weather radar and how we use it in the real world and how to best avoid bad weather. And I actually used some real world examples that I encountered with pictures of how we flew, what the radar picture looked like, etc. So that's great because I'm gonna upload that next Friday. Like every Friday 1 o'clock I upload my videos. So next week you're gonna have a whole video about weather radar and weather avoidance, which is perfect because this is one of the new features of this aircraft. Okay, and with that I am going to leave it. I know this is not the in-depth review that some others are doing, but to me the most important thing is, does this feel and sound like the real aircraft? And I can tell you from personal experience, this is definitely a big improvement. The changes are subtle, but altogether they have elevated this product quite a bit more. And I'm really looking forward to the future videos we're gonna do with this aircraft. Again, there's a whole list of things you have asked me to talk about. I'm gonna work my way through those. So thanks again for all the comments, for all the questions, for following the channel. Pretty amazing how many people are interested in technical details about this aircraft. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Fenix, you've done an amazing job once again. I'm really happy with all of this. Next week, like I said, video about weather radar. We'll probably look at the weather radar in the Fenix itself, which is something I haven't done yet. And then we'll return to normal videos, like, you know, where we discuss technical details about this aircraft. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this at least somewhat useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, all the best. Bye bye.